I'm not paying myself right now.
Yeah.
But I know what I want out of this. I think that's the actual reality of entrepreneurship, not the glamorized version that people put on Instagram. Forget the grades.
Yeah.
Your network is what matters.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you a single job I've ever had where they actually asked for my transcript. Do you know how annoying that is?
Yeah.
I did not trust and that is a major regret that I still have to this day. So I tell other people, like,
you are living your dream as like a creative person.
Thank you to all of those people who did me dirty in the past, because I was able to profit off of it.
Right.
I was able to create something off of it, and now I can laugh.
Yeah.
And the joke's on you because you played yourself.
Welcome to the Creator MBA podcast, where we talk about the business behind every successful creator. In fact, your favorite creator. And today we could not have a better first guest. She has over 40,000 subscribers on YouTube, over 100,000 followers on Instagram. When it comes to monetization channels, she got them. She has released her own cookbook. She has been hired by Will Packer Media and XO Nicole to run the XO Man podcast. They've had guests like David Banner, Devell Ellis, Roscoe Dash. Oh, and she's been an on-air personality for Streetz 94.5. She's the host of the CockTales Dirty Discussions podcast, a weekly podcast that has been running since 2016. Welcome to the show, Kiki.
Thank you. That was a great intro. I forgot.
Yeah,
I'm Jamaican and I got 11 jobs.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like when people ask you like what you do, like how do you like answer that question?
I think it depends on which personality I want to tap into
Yeah.
that day. A lot of times I say I work in media.
Okay.
And that's like the best way to give a blanket statement. And depending on what's going on, I will elaborate. But I usually tell people at this point, I am a podcaster first, and not just a host, but a producer as well.
Yeah. And do you feel like when you say media, do you look at that as like one bucket, or is it like, now my podcaster friends are very different than like my radio friends, and like
They're different, but it's still all media. And
Okay.
now at this point, it's changed over the years.
Yeah.
It's like everything is starting to blend, and everybody is like trying to hop in all the pots.
Yeah.
Like I have people who have been career podcasters and now they're doing radio as well as their podcast. Countless radio shows are trying to figure out how they take their personalities and make the content. If it's not a morning show, it's a little tougher, but take that content and turn it into a podcast to really maximize the reach and the money that comes with that.
It's so funny. I feel like so often we kind of pit against each other, like podcasting and the radio. And I think we're kind of making them seem like they compete. But to your point, like a lot of people seem to be doing like both.
Yeah, and it's really funny. I always tell this story, and I remember I was at work at the radio station, and outside of being a personality, I've also been the business manager, and that is, I have to give them thanks because I was so not qualified for that job, but something happened to the person who had it, and she literally passed away, and it was like really tragic, but you need a business manager. That is if you're not familiar with what a business manager does, for a radio station, they are taking care of like accounts receivable and accounts payable.
Oh, wow.
The money coming in and the money coming out. And like, that's what keeps things going, the finance side. So being able to work in that position in radio, which has a very similar business model, we're both making money by selling advertising. I'm able to understand how to monetize the show.
Yeah.
So I got to give them a lot of credit because it's crazy how God works out and what places they put you in. Because I was mad.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they stuck baby in a corner. This was supposed to be temporary for 3 months till you found somebody qualified. It literally took them 8 years to find another person to work in that department who was qualified. But then at that point, it's like, I've taken a crash course in QuickBooks. I have been at YouTube University all this time. I'm teaching myself because they ain't really know. It's really crazy. And it was a haphazard way to learn, but I love it. Anyway, one day I'm sitting there at work and I guess they forgot I was there. And I'm waiting to get approval to take care of some bills. I hear all of these execs that work with me and then other people who are more so like consultants, but they are people, well-respected people in radio. And they're talking about how basically podcasters are radio rejects. That hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Because I'd already started my podcast.
Wow.
And they were talking about somebody else. I think maybe somebody probably got laid off from another station, decided to pivot, do a podcast in between. And it's just like, joke's on you, because now y'all are all trying to figure out how to do what the rejects already taught themselves how to do. And so sometimes I have that in the back of my head, and it's something I can chuckle about. And it's like, y'all didn't even see it coming.
1000%. And I think like just even hearing you tell that story is clear. Like, I feel like when I look at you, it's like you fit in so many spaces that are just so different. It's like, to me, when I think of like Streetz 94.5, and then I think of like Will Packer, and then I think about even your own show and just like how transparent and like open you are. Those are all just like so different, but you bring them together so well.
Thank
I'm
you.
curious if you were like that as like a kid. Like how would you
Always
describe
doing
yourself?
everything?
Yeah, like kind of
Yes.
in all the pockets, all the friend groups.
I was very bossy.
Okay.
I've always been very bossy. I am the oldest sister, and I am a super Virgo. I tell people that all the time. Like, I've always been this way. And it's kind of like when people want to put you in a box, I've never liked that. It's like, if you want to be in a box, if you want to be put in a box, or you want to just be super focused, that's cool. Nothing against that. But why can I only choose one path? Right. Why can I only have one interest? Why can I only have one friend group? I don't think I have to. And I think being able to bounce around and do different things, it's not that I can't master any of those things, but I have multiple passions, and I just pour into those, and sometimes they overlap. I do like some things better than others, but I've just always enjoyed trying different things, pursuing different things. I will pick up a new hobby, and then now I'm trying to figure out how to make money off of it. Now I'm trying to figure out all of the ins and outs, even if I don't want to make money. Like, I watched Interstellar some years ago, and now I am a sci-fi junkie, and I thought I didn't even like sci-fi, and I was like, all I needed was like some real smart, nerdy sci-fi, not the fake stuff. I watched that.
Have you ever
movie
watched Severance?
Severance. Okay, that is the one that I haven't really been able to get into. I've watched a couple of episodes, and it is good, but something else always takes me away, because when everybody's talking about Severance, there's always another show I'm into. So maybe I do need a new show to watch. Maybe I'll watch that this weekend.
I love that. I kind of feel like sometimes like society puts pressure on us, and I think if you're a person that has like, you're a multi-hyphenate, or you jump to different things, I think people look at that like a bad thing. Like, maybe you're not consistent, or you don't stick with one thing. Like, what do you think you wanted to be as a kid? Like, what were you thinking about?
I wanted to be a talk show host. Okay. So it worked out, right?
It's working.
There were no podcasts, but I wanted to be a talk show host. For a quick minute, I let my mom convince me I should be a lawyer. She said I should be a lawyer because I like to argue. That's horrible advice. I think any lawyer will tell you, if somebody is telling you that's why to be a lawyer, don't do it. I really think you're better at being a lawyer if you're a good storyteller, but that's another story. I wanted to do talk shows, though. I used to watch Oprah, and I enjoyed it. And I loved how being a talk show host, it seemed like you get to talk to people who do all sorts of different things. So even if that's not going to be your career, or you never get to live that life, you really get to sit down and have a conversation with somebody who is living it. So you just get to learn more about people. I've always enjoyed talking to people, getting to know people. I know that people are all different. And I like to explore that, even like when it comes to food. I like to explore different types of food, but I love cooking because I think it brings people together. And so like podcasting brings people together. We find something in common, and sometimes it's hard sharing so many personal things about my life, but I feel like at this point I've found a good way to share enough that people feel like they know me and are connected to me, and still be able to reserve something for myself.
No, that makes so much sense. And so it's like, growing up, it's like, your mom wants you to be a lawyer. You want to be a talk show host. You end up going to Howard. Like, what?
And when I went to Howard, my major was political science. I really didn't know any better. I didn't know which way to go and how to really even pursue being a lawyer. I knew I had to go to get my bachelor's first and then go to law school. So I'm like, okay. But they had an event, and the radio station was there, the student radio station. So I went, and I was interested in what they were doing, and we were just talking. They were like, oh, well, we bring on new personalities. Like, you should just try out and audition, and you don't have to have experience, obviously, and we'll teach you. And I fell in love with that, and I changed my major. I really only wanted to be a lawyer because of my mom, and I wanted to wear a suit and be powerful. And it's like,
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds appealing.
I'm with
it.
And I kept thinking, like, I'm going to have my briefcase, and I'm going to have my power suit, and I'm going to go in the courtroom. And it's like, I don't want to do this. I play and dress up. If anything, I should look into being an actress because I just want to play look the part.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do all that work.
Right.
Oh, no.
There should be like a in between where it's like you're not a lawyer, but you get to do all the perks that come along
maybe
with
an analyst or something or consultant. But no.
What was going to Howard like for you? Like, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Louisiana and the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas.
Yeah.
So Southern girl.
Okay.
And culture shock when I got to Howard. It was so different. Like even little things. I remember they had a fish fry. So I go to the fish fry. I'm excited. I love fried fish. I'm thinking they're going to have catfish. It was whiting. And I didn't even know what whiting was. And I'm like, why is it this black stuff at the bottom? I was like, oh, it tastes like the swamp. Like, what's going on here? I also did not realize, like, you could actually have a public building with no AC.
Right.
My dorm did not have AC, and I was just confused. And then when I got there and I experienced the heat, I was like, this is inhumane. Like, what's going on? But and I thought about transferring my first semester, but I'm so glad that I stuck it out because it just taught me to get used to being outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And at Howard, I realized how comfortable I had been throughout my life, even like with my schoolwork and stuff. It's like, okay, now we're all coming into the school together, but we were all at the top of our classes, wherever we came from. So it's like now you're in a room with a bunch of yous.
Right.
And so I learned so much more about people. I learned about what I needed to do, and they weren't soft on me. It's like, no, you need to improve your writing. It's really not that great. That was I heard so many people tell me that things were not so great when all of my life, everybody had been like, oh, you're so amazing. You can do this, you can do that. And so it like really humbled me.
Yeah.
But in the best way. And it taught me so much, and it made me love myself more. It made me more interested in other people. And even like it's an HBCU, but many people will say like, why would you want to go to an all black school? Okay, first of all, it's two different things. Right. All black versus HBCU is different. It's not an all black school, but even if it was, stop thinking that we're a monolith.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different types of people depending on where you're from, your interests, and like stop also thinking that every black person comes from struggle. I was probably the brokest in a lot of circles that I was in, right? And I come from a middle-class family, but these people were rich. Yeah. And I'm like, you don't know how to do a FAFSA? You don't know what that is? And I was like, oh, I thought we was all doing this together. Like, oh, your mom just paid it? Oh, you paid it with the credit card. Wow. This is what a black card feels like. This is nice. And I'm just like, wow, these people are really wealthy. Yeah. But it was great to be able to experience that and see that. And sometimes I think that people don't think about the fact that we don't all grow up in struggle. We don't all grow up the same way, liking the same thing, listen to the same music. And it was just beautiful to be able to experience that. And it's like people all over America, but all over the world.
It's something so beautiful about just being like exposed to new groups of people. Obviously, like I'm from Zimbabwe, and so even coming to like America and just like being around other black people who are, have a completely different experience than you is like something amazing about that. What was like your experience in terms of like developing your desire to be like a talk show host? Like how did Howard further that? Like how did you grow in that capacity at Howard?
So after I went to that meeting about the radio station, I did my audition. I got a show. So I was on a show with two other people, and it was like entertainment news type of show. And then I started working for the YBF.com, which was, I think they're still up and running actually, but it's an entertainment gossip blog type thing, but it was not the messy kind. Like a lot of stuff we're reporting on is fashion. I got to do red carpet interviews. And so it really just helped me hone in on my hosting skills and my research skills. And so I changed my major to journalism, and I had a concentration in broadcast news, and they make you work. Like you have to go out and report. You have to go out and get your own stories or you will fail. They don't play that. So they really just taught me to be more confident. They helped me with my speaking voice. I used to sound a lot more like Whitley Gilbert, but I have toned down my twang, but it come out sometimes. Right. But they encourage you. And another thing that I learned at Howard that was really important to me is like, hey, you can go out here and you can try to work for these companies, and there's nothing wrong with that. But prepare yourself to be told no. And when you're told no enough, if you really want it, make it happen for yourself. Don't wait on somebody to tell you that you deserve it, that you're worth it. Like you came from Howard, you deserve, and you can make it happen. I'll
everyone I know that went to Howard is just confident. Like they're
Yeah.
just like 100% themselves, whatever space they're in. And
You
there's
have to be.
I love that so
Or don't
much.
say you went there.
Facts.
Yeah.
Between like going to like Howard and starting at so wait, you started at Streetz 945 in 2014, right?
When did I really start working there? Yeah, 2014.
Okay.
2014.
Around that time, that is like my favorite. I'm like, that is like my show. I'm like
Yeah.
tapped into everything, the morning shows, the dating, everything, the whole
Yeah.
shebang. So like, how do you go from like working at Howard to starting at your role there? Like what kind of happens in between?
Oh, that was a struggle. So I left Howard, I moved here. I have an aunt who lives here and she's like, you can live with me until you figure it out. So I moved here with no job on July 31st, 2011. My lease was up in DC and I packed up my little PT Cruiser and I came scooting down 95 and I made it here. So I was working a lot of temp jobs. I was working at a bar as like a waitress. I was just doing all sorts of things, trying to chase my dreams. I was still working for the YBF. So when like the hip hop awards and stuff would happen, I would do red carpet correspondence. Gotcha. And then like sometimes there would be other events or they would book me for one-on-one interviews. So I'm doing like freelance work. And I'm just trying to figure out how to get in the door. I've got my air check, I'm sending it out, but I don't really know anybody. And that was the biggest mistake I made at Howard and the biggest mistake I continue to make. But it's like your network matters so much more. Like, forget the grades. Your network is what matters. Because I can't tell you a single job I've ever had where they actually asked for my transcript. Do you know how annoying that is? After all of my sleepless nights and trying to have these grades, I do all these internships and it's every opportunity pretty much has come from somebody I've known or I just made it happen and I had to get out there and try to meet people. So I see something on Instagram one day. There's a guy, Akini. He was the morning show producer at the time. I think he's a morning show producer now. And he also runs like a casting agency. So he used to cast a lot of music videos. Anyway, so I'd already been following him. I wasn't trying to do music videos, but I just needed to follow people who were connected to people. I'm like, some kind of way I'm going to get in there. He does commercials. He posts something for the radio. And it's like, oh, we're looking for talent. So when I get there, I realize y'all are looking for interns. I've already done this. I've already
not
done
trying to
this.
not get paid.
I need to get paid. I don't have any money. I am poor. Help me, I'm poor. But I was like, you know what? Humble yourself. Oh, well, something you didn't do before. There's something you didn't do before that you should have done. So I was like, well, I'm not in college though. So how can we work this out? So they were like, we'll figure something out because they really like me. So I was just volunteering my time basically. And it didn't take long for me to start booking gigs. And like, it just so happened, I made friends with one of the personalities. She really clicked with me. And then she was on her way out. So she would always like say like, oh, let Kiki do it. Let Kiki do it. And her name is Sarah. And I appreciate her for that so much because she took some time off for whatever reason and I got to fill in. And that's when they really started to believe in me, at least a little bit. And then I was doing like remotes and all of that. So that's how I got in there. But it was just like constantly searching, constantly trying to figure it out. And then I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep hustling. I was working with different blogs, different media outlets. I started my own blog. I was just trying to try stuff.
And how, like, what is the interview are they like testing to see like your like journalistic reporting? Is it like, yo, can you talk on a mic? Like, are you entertaining? Like, what is
likability?
Okay.
How does your voice sound really? Like, do you fit with the station? Can you do this? And then when we're doing the remotes, how are people receiving you? Do we think that we can market you? And things like that. And I think, and then you have to know how to be responsible, timely, like all the obvious things. But there wasn't a real interview. It's a bit of a haze, really. Lots of projects, but in the end, it's like you're learning more. And they use a different system than what I had already learned. So it was good that I got to do it that way. And then to be with like these other people and seeing, okay, I learned one way. It is good to learn another way because there's more than one way to skin a cat, you know?
For sure. And are you like, at this stage of your career, are you like, yo, I'm ready for my shot and I could do it? Or is it like, I just want someone to give me a chance to be on there? Because I know you've done it already in the past, but.
At this point, like today?
No. At this point, like you're looking for a shot. That's how I felt.
Okay. Yeah, that's how I felt. And I kept feeling like really defeated. And that's what made me be like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. I'm just going to start a podcast and I'm going to get on there and I'm going to yap and we'll see what happens from this because everything's not working. And maybe it's because it's not supposed to work.
Yeah. And so it's like
So,
Sarah is stepping out, so you're kind of getting some opportunities, but nobody is saying like, "Yo, we're gonna
like, I'm
slot
not getting
you."
a contract.
Yeah.
And I'm not able to do it full time. And then the lady got sick, and I guess I was the most qualified of the people who were already in the building
Yeah.
to do that job. And then it was like, I remember another person, Jerry Smoking B, he tells me, hey, I want to give you some advice because you are really talented. Be careful because you don't want to get stuck in that position. Like, keep doing whatever it is you need to do to chase your dreams, whether
Yeah.
it's here or somewhere else, because you don't want to get stuck. It's happened to
Yeah.
other people. And he named some people, and I was like, dang, I don't want that to be me. So that little voice has constantly been in my head, like, no matter if I'm still here or not, and they're giving me opportunities or not, I'm going to keep pushing for myself because I believe in me.
Yeah.
So if I don't believe in me, why would I expect somebody else to? And if they're telling me no, well, they just sleep and they'll have to figure it out later.
Yeah. What were some of the things you felt like you learned, like working at a radio station, especially one not big, in terms of like building an audience?
What did I learn from them about building an audience? Be connected. A big thing that happens when people have podcasts, especially when you're just like talking about life and like it's more casual, like girl chat, like what I do on CockTales. Sometimes there's a lot of inside jokes. And so like on the radio, they would always tell them, don't be having those inside jokes. If there's an inside joke, it's an inside joke with your audience, not with your celebrity friends and stuff.
Good.
You have to keep that in mind because you want them to feel like they're a part of the conversation, not like they're eavesdropping on the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I think like, even when I've talked to other friends or I listen to other podcasts and I see that they're growing and they're getting bigger guests and now they're becoming celebrities in their own right, it's like, you gotta make sure that you're not too buddy-buddy with these celebrity guests that you're having, because then it's like, what y'all even talking about? The audience is not gonna be engaged. They're gonna turn it off.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's so and like we'll talk about that next, because I think you do such an amazing job just like building community. And I went through some of the comments and it's like, it's clear you put a lot of intention in building that. Before we talk about CockTales, I want to ask just sort of like being a creative person working at a radio station, which I would still deem as like a corporation. I'd imagine there's like a lot of politics that comes with like navigating that space, whether it's to get opportunities or to be promoted or even just to keep your job, like in this economy. What was that experience like for you, just being in like the media space, also being in corporate, but also being a creative person?
I'm gonna be honest, that station is not very corporate. It's not like stiff. I always say it's like we're the renegade station, but it is a lot more casual.
Okay.
And so you feel more comfortable to talk to people. There's still politics going on, obviously, but it's not as bad.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you need something, I do love that about them. Or, like, if you're struggling with something, you can go to somebody and talk to them about it. And they might make some concessions for you. And there's not going to be like, oh, it has to go through this process and this process and this person in this department and all. That's not really happening. So it's easier to get to a decision maker. You can walk in his office and just talk to him. And I like that. You have his number. You don't have to be scared to talk to the owner of the station. He's sitting in there and you can go talk to him. So it helped me to just be like, I guess work on being more confident with asking for things. Yeah. I get a lot of no's, but you need the no's.
You gotta shoot your shot.
Yeah, you gotta shoot your shot.
Nah, I love that.
So it wasn't hard. I think it helped a lot because I was able to build relationships there that translate over.
Yeah. I feel like at this point you're working at the radio station, you're not getting the opportunity, so you decide, yo, I'm gonna start my own podcast, right? What was that process like for you? Was it something where it took time? Were you trying to think of like, what's the idea? Or was it, did you have one?
No, well, kind of. I was working through different ideas. So even before I started working there, I was working at another company, and that's when I found out what a podcast was. I started listening to The Read. And so a friend of mine put me onto The Read, and I used to listen. I listened to a few episodes, fell in love, so I went all the way back so I could listen in chronological order. So it took me like a year. Wow. Then at this point, I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. I figured out they make money through the advertising just like radio stations do, so I'm familiar with the business model. Before I even start thinking about making money, what do I actually want to talk about? What do I think I can talk about for a long time? And then like, how do I do it? So I knew people who had already started podcasts when I decided to do it. So I would ask them, and then I'd do some research and see if I want to do it like they said they're doing it, or if I want to do it a different way. I did it a different way. Because I was like, this isn't going to work. And I was trying to like build a team. And even like throughout the years with CockTales, I've had multiple co-hosts.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a wild ride. I
Yeah.
tell some people sometimes it feels like Destiny's Child, like constantly changing
Yeah.
people, but it has taught me how to work with different people and
Right.
just like what I need to make sure that I'm thinking of when building a team.
Yeah.
And so I got my team together and we're playing with ideas. And then it was kind of like analysis paralysis. And it's like, oh, is this right? Is this
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I don't want to launch. And then one day I was just like, I just got to put it out there because I'll never know if people like this and if it resonates with anybody. If we're the only people listening to it. We can
Yeah.
always change. We can always pivot, but go ahead and put it out there so we can keep going.
Facts.
And so that's what I did.
It's like you gotta start just
Yeah.
to have a baseline.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like struggle with that, like myself included. Even just like this idea of like team and who we work with and co-hosts. And so like number one, like what was like when you started, you found the people you wanted to work with. What was that process like? How did you determine like, yo, I'm gonna start with these 3 people? Or
I did not trust my gut. And that is a major regret that I still have to this day. So I tell other people, like, people will tell you, be consistent, work hard, take it serious, be professional. No, trust your gut. Well, yes, do those things, sorry, but trust your gut. That's the one I think people forget to mention.
Yeah.
So I was working for another blog and I was telling them about my idea. So there was a girl that I was working with at the blog, and we both worked for YBF too. So we had known each other for some time, and we were both looking to do the same thing. Okay. So I bounced the idea off of her, and she's like, but I think we're going to need some help. And I was like, definitely. And so we decided to ask the woman who ran this other blog if she would kind of come on as a producer and help us. She was really well connected. We thought she would be good for guests. And this is where I wasn't trusting my gut. She was like, oh, well, I think y'all should add 2 more people to the show and have some guys so it can be like balanced and everybody has, they kind of play up their role on the show, but it'll be more balanced.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really care if it's balanced. It's not about being balanced. I'm not trying to be fair. I just want to talk about what I really talk about with people. Yes, we should all play up our personalities, whatever we're leaning into, but it's not about being balanced because that's just not real life.
Yeah.
When you sit down with your friends, you're not going to always have a balanced conversation.
Nice.
It will lean one way or the other. Everybody disagrees.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to work with them because they all were really hungry. And that was something that I wanted. But then, because we're talking about such personal things, some people realize this isn't what they want to do.
Yeah. And at like before, like when you found it's you, your friend, and then you find the 2 guys, like, are you having like, is it just like, yo, we want to start this thing, let's all do it, and we'll all be split owners in it? Or is it like, yo, I own this thing, but I'll contract you to join me? Like, what's the...
We didn't really handle the business part of that.
Okay.
And it didn't last long either, so it was just kind of like whatever. And I think that the other people didn't really believe in it like I did, because it was my idea.
Yeah.
And then me and Shayla, we were like bouncing ideas off. And so I felt like it was really more so ours than anyone else's, but I still felt like it was really mine.
Yeah.
Because like I'm also doing the work. I'm the one driving the boat. I'm the one doing all of this stuff. But we hadn't really handled that. So then when the guys left, kind of retroactively, we're like, okay, let's think about this. Because do we want to get another co-host? Do we not? What's going on? And so we kind of figured it out then. But everything was just like really loose.
Yeah.
And I think I would advise anybody when you are pulling a group of people together, whether you know them, whether they're your family or your friends, go ahead and figure out what you think is fair up front before you get to work. And that alleviates a lot of the headache later, because you can also always change those things, But
And
yeah.
when you say what's fair, you mean like whether you're going to pay them or if they're going to be a partner?
Yeah, like, are you in it and are you acting like an owner operator? Do you just want to be talent? Like, because you also don't want to put a bunch of work on somebody who doesn't want to do it or can't do it because they don't have the time or the capacity or the skill set. Yeah. So figuring out if you want to just pay people, if you want to have some sort of partnership agreement and what that looks like. Like, you can do it however you want to do it, but I think it's important, whoever is coming up with the idea, know what you want. Yeah. And then talk to them. And then, maybe you negotiate, maybe you don't. Maybe it's your way or the highway, but you got to figure out how you want to do that up front.
Well, I feel like, how do you think about like this is what I'm good at. This is kind of what I need help with. This is like what I'd want to add. And then like in my case, for instance, it would be like, yo, I love talking, but I need help with production. I may need a co-host because there's things I may not like talking about. Like from your standpoint, how do you think about that with your show? Because I don't think, or maybe there are, but it's just like you're talking about stuff that's so like personal that it's like not anyone could just do that.
That is very true. I think when I was thinking about like other hosts on the show, I wanted people who didn't think like me. Maybe some similarities, but I'm like, if it's just girls yapping and everybody thinks the same, what's the point of having other people?
Right.
I think it's good to have like different opinions, have some relatability amongst each other, but different opinions. And then thinking about splitting up the responsibilities is just like, you got to have an honest look at yourself. What are you actually good at? Not what you want to be good at, but what are you actually good at? And then what do you, of those things, what do you want to do? Then figure out what's left. And that's something that you can figure out. And when you're talking to people about their responsibilities, I think you should probably check in a few times because people will agree to things up front and then it's like, I don't really want to do this, or I'm not good at this, or I'm just not going to do it. And then it's like, what are we doing? So you kind of got to have check-ins. And I think it's also important to, aside from actual skills, I think work style and work ethic is something that kind of gets overlooked. And you should make sure that those people will be compatible with you because then you might end up harboring a lot of resentment with somebody that you're working with, and you don't want that. It's like a lot of little things that go into it, which is not fun to think about or talk about when you want to worry about the meat and potatoes of the show. But if you're not going to do a podcast or whatever project, whatever creative project it may be, if you're not going to do that as a hobbyist and you do want to turn it into something, that's just how it goes.
It seems like your current co-host, Dina, like how'd y'all meet?
We went to high school together.
Okay.
So that's how I know her.
And so you just like you were like, yo, I got this podcast thing. You reconnect.
Well, no, she was on another podcast and she was still she had moved back to Dallas. And so she moved back to Dallas, and I think that podcast wasn't working out, and she wanted to come back to Atlanta anyway. And so when she was coming back, I was like, well, you would be good on the show. She had been a guest before. And I was like, we both like to talk about these sorts of things. Like, I know you're a little crazy, I'm a little crazy. Like, this will be good. And so that made me ask her to be on the show. And then shortly thereafter, Shayla left. But, and I was kind of upset by it, but it was also like, well, you got to do what you got to do. And I don't want anybody to stay anywhere that they don't want to be. And she just had other things going. And I think she wanted the show to be bigger, sooner. But what I don't like, and I still don't like this, don't tell me you'll post about something when it gets big. How are we going to get there? We've got to push. So that's why I say it's really important to make sure that people believe in what y'all are doing and are willing to put in the work when nobody's looking.
For sure.
Like, you can't wait to be excited and proud of your work when other people say it's cool. You got to feel like it's cool, because why would they think it's cool?
Exactly.
You know?
1000%. And it's hard not to like interpret somebody saying like, yo, this is not a good fit for me right now, or I can't do it, as like a personal assault on like this idea working. And so I'm curious, as like you're switching co-hosts or as you're even like switching teams, like, are you just kind of like, yo, I'm still 10 toes down, or are there moments where you're like, is this like, what's going through your head while all of this is happening?
So with that, it was like, well, I still think that the idea is great. I know it is. And I just, whatever, good riddance, because at that point, it's like, you don't believe in it. And I don't want to convince you. Like, you've already been here. We've been doing this thing. It felt like you were not all the way in. And I think the other part of that is because of the subject matter. So now I'm realizing, okay, the person that you are trying to be publicly might conflict with who you are off the camera. And now it's like weird. And it's like you're not comfortable being yourself fully. Because your regular self is cool, right? But it's like you're like when you're overthinking about what you want to share.
Like, you have to like come up with crazier stories. Like you're saying.
Too conservative stories, the opposite. Now you're realizing people are listening to you and stuff. And so you're like, oh, I don't want to be embarrassed. Or is a man going to want me? I have a child. And I mean, okay, those are your concerns. I won't say if I think they're valid or not, but it's like, be yourself. Because at the end of the day, I also tell people it's important to allow other people to choose if they like you or not. Don't try to manipulate them and create a caricature
Yeah.
of yourself so that you can make people like you. Let people choose. Everybody's not going to like you, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think though, like, do you think that like when you are creating content that's public facing, people start to know you and they start to associate you with a certain idea?
Yeah.
And even though you may be evolving as like a person in like your real life, that change that you're making in real life, people may not necessarily, it's hard for like the content to catch up to that.
Yeah.
What's your relationship to that?
I think it is difficult. And then sometimes too, it's like, okay, we might be talking, but if we don't actually give any life updates, or we're not ready to give those life updates, or we're talking to guests constantly, so it's less about us and more about them, it might be hard to really see who I am. And then it's like, I feel like now I'm in a good place with what I'm comfortable sharing and who I am. And I just always remind people, hey, we're people talking about our lives, and it's constantly going to be evolving. Like, I change my mind every day. I'm so indecisive. I tried on 3 dresses today. I didn't know what I was going to wear. And I'm constantly changing my mind. And I remind people who listen to the show, it's okay to change your mind too. And like, this is what I'm into now. This is how I'm feeling. But I hope that you know that I'm not going to be the same person forever. And if you can't get with that, I get it. Stay on the roller coaster while you like this version of me, and hop off when you want to. The right people will find me.
Yeah, I love that. Like, what has been one of the things that I think is like so impressive about your podcast is just like how you've grown so organically. And I think that is something like everybody is trying to figure out. What are some of the things that you think you did that contributed to just people finding your show and saying like, yo, I'm 10 toes down with that?
I think in the beginning, being really serious about my consistency and just being myself, and like trying to remind myself, hey, I might be embarrassed that I said this on the mic, but somebody out there is not going to feel alone anymore because they went through it too, or they were thinking the same thing, or they're too scared to tell their friends. So I just got to put my big girl panties on and be brave and just do that and just keep going, because I just really believed in myself. I knew if I just kept going, like if I can sit in a room with friends or even strangers and tell these same kind of stories and people are laughing or they're entertained and they're engaged, I can do it for larger amounts of people. So like, just keep going. The people will find you. I'm always looking for new podcasts. I can't be the only person in the world who is looking for new podcasts. So just keep going. And I was also like going out more, and I would go out and I would just meet random people and I'm telling them about the podcast. I used to call my friends and beg them to listen. Most of them I'm not friends with anymore, because in hindsight, it's like, well, I gotta beg you to support me. You won't even turn it on. But now when things are getting better, you want to be, no. But yeah, just like being proud and really pushing what I was doing. I think it's important. You can't be like, oh yeah, I do a little podcast sometimes. No, you have to feel like it is the biggest thing in the world, and you tell everybody about it, anybody who will listen, and just get over if people are embarrassed. You don't even have to do a wild show. It's not even wild right now. It's mostly me sitting on the couch talking, but there were times where I told some really wild, embarrassing stories, and I forget that I even went through those moments. But then I have to remind myself of what made me come up with, this is the content I want. I went through a lot of like bad relationships and situationships, and just like constantly getting my feelings hurt and getting played. And it's just like, okay, at some point I want to be able to look back on these moments and laugh at them. Some of them I had to force myself to laugh because I was running out of stories, so I tell it on the show. But it's like, thank you to all of those people who did me dirty in the past, because I was able to profit off of it. I was able to create something off of it. And now I can laugh. And the joke's on you because you played yourself. You know?
No, I 1000%. And I think like, it's so hard to like internalize what's going on in your life and make it content. Because I feel like I resonate with what you're saying, because I think all creators do, right? It's like we're going through this journey and you're finding things to talk about online in a creative way. And it's hard to do that in a way where you feel like, so in my experience, right, I feel like it becomes difficult whenever something happens to me that's like content worthy. The first thing I think about is like, is this going to happen again? Like just the fear that like, yo, I don't know if something, I'm gonna use the word crazy just for the context of this example. If something this crazy is going to happen to me again, because then like, what am I going to talk about if it doesn't? I mean, like, so just the idea of like, even like making your life content. There's like an amazing article that came out that was just talking about like the difference between like living and then like living for content, like creating experiences because you can document them.
Yeah.
And so I just love like how you phrase that.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, like, I feel like you're on my like goals board and so many
Really?
other creators board, because I feel like so many of the things you've done, I think like creators dream about, one of which being like a live event.
Oh,
which,
yes.
You know, like I saw you did one at City Winery and I'm sure you've done several, but like walk me through like what that, like, why did you like decide to do a live event? How did that come about?
Back to the Read, they were doing live shows, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's probably so cool, but I wonder what it's like. And I wanted to go, but they sell out so quick, so I didn't
Yeah.
even get to go. So I'm like searching the internet and trying to figure out what would a live podcast like this even be. And there was another podcast. I ended up becoming friends with these girls, Horrible Decisions. Now
Yeah,
it's
shout out to
Decisions. But they had done a live show. And Weezy had come on CockTales already. And so they did a live show in New York, and I saw how they did it. It wasn't that I wanted to copy them, but I'm like, okay, I see how we can make this work. Because I
Yeah.
also didn't want to just sit in two chairs looking at the audience like, hey,
Yeah.
so this is what's going on this week. Because I feel like the thing that makes it different and makes people want to be in the room with you for a live thing is they actually get to interact with you.
Right.
I don't want an experience that's the same as sitting at home, because then why did they pay money when they could listen to the show for free, right?
Exactly.
So I came up with like, okay, I learned in radio, when you're looking at your audience and you're trying to figure out how many people you will actually get to an event, there's like a percentage game that you do. So shout out to Solo, who's the promotions and programming director there. He taught me that. So I'm like checking our numbers, looking at the analytics, and I'm like, ooh, I'm nervous. Now people are asking.
Yeah.
That was another thing that I think was a marker that I wanted to see. I wanted the audience to ask us for live shows first before we just threw it at them, because are we about to do all this work?
Right.
And they don't even want to come. They're like, no, we're good. We can listen to you in our AirPods. So I'm thinking about that. So we reached the threshold of the amount that I felt comfortable with. Then it's like, okay, got to find a venue, got to figure out how the actual show will go.
Yeah.
And this is still like, my team is me and Medina.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a team.
Right.
And then we decided to do it here in Atlanta. And there's a venue, it's called the 444 Theater downtown. Off of Boulevard. And I don't even know if it's still there, but it seats like 275 people, something like that. And so the price was right.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we can do this. Because we're not really making a ton of money. We're selling ads ourselves here and there. But I was like, okay, I got the money.
Yeah.
We're just going to put the money in and we're just going to make this happen. This is
Yeah.
going to work. And figuring out how to price stuff. So put it on Patreon first. They get the early release tickets. I sold those tickets for $20 and I only put a certain number on sale.
Yeah.
They sold out in like a day.
Wow.
So then I was like, I put them too cheap, right? I underestimated myself. Dang, but I can't hike the prices now because that's nuts. So then when we open it up to the public, the show sold out in 2 weeks.
Wow.
We put the tickets on sale like around Valentine's Day in February. And I remember the show was May 19th,
Wow.
2019.
Yeah.
And I cried because I was
Yeah.
like, I'm looking at all the stuff coming in on Eventbrite. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
dollars and I was like, damn, I sold this too
Yeah.
low. The tickets were too cheap. And then I went back to the venue
Yeah.
because people were like, oh no, I thought I had more time. I thought I had more time. I'm like, I thought y'all had more time too. I didn't know y'all was going to do it like this.
Right.
So I was like, put the emails in. Like I had like an email list and maybe some seats will open up. Maybe people won't be able to make it. We'll see. Go to the venue. They were like, well, you can add on the next day for like half the price.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, okay, well, we got the money from the
Yeah.
tickets already. So good. We're good to go. And then from there, it was just like, we really sold these 2 nights out by ourselves.
Wow.
And it felt so good. I cried. The day of the show, like I had lost my voice too. So I'm like beating myself. I'm like, how do I lose my voice? I sounded so raspy. But when I peeked out from the side of the stage and I saw all of those people out there, like people even had like big head signs of me in the audience. Like my friends showed up and showed out. They were
That's
there
crazy.
to help me. They didn't mind picking up trash.
Yeah.
They're working the door. Like everybody, it was all hands on deck. And I love my family and my friends for that because it's hard to do these things. And it's like, okay, we could hire some people, but do we trust these people? How do we find these people? I don't know. It's kind of overwhelming. And they're like, don't worry about it. Like, we got you.
Yeah.
And that event was so great. I still think our very first live show was the best one ever. We did do other things and we made it fun, but we made sure to be really interactive with the audience. We wanted them to have an experience. We had vendor tables in there. We had a bar set up in there. We had like an opener. There was, he did like games with them. We had giveaways. We had sponsors for the show. We just had so much. We had like a step and repeat with the photo booths. Like we did a lot for that first live show, and it went so great. And I was just so proud of myself. And that's when I knew, okay, this is like the most validation I've ever gotten. And to see this and see how excited, like I know people snuck in that show and I don't really like that. Because also I noticed people are sitting in the aisles.
Yeah.
Fire hazard, but you didn't buy no ticket.
Right.
And which one of my friends was supposed to be working the door? Because how are people, but you know,
they didn't
whatever.
let somebody slide.
Yeah, but I was like, the fact that they were so thirsty to be here, it feels good. I don't even care.
Yeah,
I don't even care in the end.
Do you remember, and I know it was so long ago, like, do you remember what like the deposit for a venue like that was, like around that time?
I think I had to pay, I think it was $2,650 was the total.
Yeah.
Because some of those venues were too high. They're like $5,000, $8,000. You got to put a 50% deposit down. I think I had to pay $1,500 to reserve it.
Yeah.
And then the rest was going to be due maybe 30 days before the event.
Yeah.
But then once we got that Eventbrite payout, I just went ahead and paid it. And I was like, I'm ready to pay for the other day too. Like we got it now. So it was expensive, but it was like, okay, just saving money. We had a Patreon.
Okay.
So saving that Patreon money to put it down and then just putting my own money in there and knowing we're going to recoup this. It'll be fine. We can figure it out.
And at that point, were you getting any sponsors on the podcast yet, or was it primarily like Patreon?
We did have sponsors on the podcast, but they weren't very consistent. We didn't have an agency selling for us. It's like me cold emailing people for sponsorship. And then we had gone around, I created a sponsorship deck, and then we were reaching out to different business owners that we just personally knew to get those sponsorship dollars. And some people looked at the deck. Some people were like, we're proud of you. Cut the check.
Yeah.
So.
And when you emailed people and they responded with like interest, like how did you know like what to charge them?
I just made up some prices.
Yeah. So it was just, whatever I'm feeling.
I made
on
up
that
prices. Because I had it in the deck. Like had already figured it out. So we had a plan. But I was like considering several things. One of those, what is it actually going to cost me to put this on? How much do we have to make a profit? And then we knew that we wanted to do other shows. So knowing that we don't really have any long-term sponsors, we also need to be able to make enough money here to save some to put down deposits for the other venues. So I'm just thinking about all of the different things that we could do. So we're selling sponsorship opportunities. In the sponsorship, it's like, okay, we've got that step and repeat. You can get your logo on there. That's a way to make money. There was a big space, like a big lobby area at that venue. And so I was like, oh, we can get vendor tables. We can rent the tables from like an event center or something. And that's what we did. And then they pay to be a vendor at the event. And then we also offered them in-show advertising. And that was like the big thing. And that doesn't really cost us anything but the studio time, you know? And that's how I structured it. And so then it's like, okay, this is working. And then as the show continued to grow, we changed the rates. And then the way that podcasts sell advertisers is on a CPM. So it's cost per meal, which is per 1,000 downloads. So maybe the average is like $25. So for every 1,000 downloads you're getting on an episode or 30 days, however you want to do it, you're going to charge this person $25. So if you're getting 100,000 downloads in a month, it's 25 times that, and that's the rate you sell it at. And that's like industry standard. So when your show grows too, then you can sell it more at a premium. So maybe $35 versus $25. And we would have like bundles and different things like that. Cause it's like, we got to cover our expenses, but we're also not doing this for fun. So we need to turn a profit and then we need to be able to have a little savings. But a lot of those people wanted to continue to advertise with the show, and that helped until we got like an actual company that was going to sell ads on our behalf. And they found us organically.
Wow. Were you combining your downloads for like audio and YouTube, or were you? Like,
we weren't doing YouTube yet.
Okay. And then at this point, like are like it's like multiple revenue channels and like things are working. Are you like thinking like, yo, I think like we can do this full time? Are you like, how are you? It's still like side hustle-esque.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, we need to make some more money because this isn't enough. And then it's like we wanted to do video, but we weren't doing video consistently. And this is in the dark ages when it was much easier to podcast. And we were sitting down before we went to the studio. We'd just be sitting in my living room talking. And so we went to the studio and we would just sit in there. And that room was really set up for radio.
Yeah.
Video is very expensive. And so that makes the production of a podcast change. But then this all happens in 2019 and then 2020 hits. So we're back at home.
Yeah.
And we're recording on Riverside, doing it virtually with just webcams. So it bought us both like 4K webcams and we're using that. But now we combine the numbers. But at first, we weren't combining the numbers. It's like if you want to advertise on the video version, which is basically the same because you will actually see us. It's not an audiogram. These are the downloads we're getting over here. These are the ones we're getting over here. And we've always had a larger audience on audio. And I know that that's because that's where we started.
Yeah.
And so everybody's not going to look at us while they're listening. But I think now a lot of podcasts that are starting, they would have more on video because everybody's doing video pretty much.
That's so interesting. I've heard a lot of people say that they love audio for like the community that it builds, but they like video for like the discoverability of new people finding you. What's been your experience in terms of like the difference of audience versus like on YouTube versus like audio for you, if there is?
I think there is a difference. I think, and sometimes it crosses over. Like I'll see the comments and people are like, I was listening to the podcast, I always listen to y'all, but I had to come see your facial expressions. So I think that people are wanting to watch for a different reason. But a lot of people, I guess it depends on like the user experience and why they're listening and when they're listening. If you're listening while you're driving or you're listening at work, you're probably not looking at YouTube. Maybe you do, but you're probably not doing that. And I think that they have a different experience, but I think people are more focused on what you're saying when they're just listening. And then they feel like they know you because it does feel like you on the phone with a friend or something, you're on a group FaceTime call. And when you're watching, and I've even noticed this like from a host perspective, when the cameras are here and we've got the lights and it feels like talk show, you might not be as raw. And then it's like, it takes more. You need to put your face on because people in the YouTube comments are mean. Those are the audio people, they're a lot more supportive. And I won't say my YouTube people aren't supportive, but it's like, why you look tired? Y'all are getting fat. This is what's going on. I'm just like, your mama's fat, you know? And it's like, everybody's seeing those comments versus like the audio. You can leave comments on Spotify, but we would see more things that should have been a comment in our ratings and reviews. So it's just different. And I think that the audio audience is a lot more forgiving, a lot more understanding, and the YouTube audience is strict.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. When you're making money, like how are you deciding like, yo, if we make $1,000, let's just split it. You take 500, I take 500 versus like, hey, let's invest X in the show or let's save to do another live show. How are you deciding like how that money is spent?
Trying to forecast the flow of the money, which is difficult because it's not consistent. And it's like for a while we were on the steady incline and it was great. And then it's dropping off. And then it's like, okay, we can't split the money every month and like pay ourselves out if we don't have a reserve. So when we're out of the reserve, it's like we don't get paid. And you have to take care of the show expenses first. That's how we do it. The show expenses come first and we need to save some for the next month because what happens if we make money because because of the advertisers. But the advertisers don't always pay. They're net 30, they're net 60, they're net 90. There's invoices from the top of this year that haven't been paid. So it's like you see what money you're earning, but that's not money in your hand. So you got to remember, don't spend your money before you get it because you just have to wait. And so hopefully you're able to work with people, but sometimes you have to end up putting more money in or you have to pay yourself back. And that's frustrating because once you make it to a point where you are paying yourself and you're able to make like consistent profit, you don't want to go back. But if you want to keep it going, sometimes you do. And then you have to pivot because that's where I am right now. It's like, it has been slow. We're losing listeners. And it's like, okay, why are we losing listeners? And I always tell people, I don't care about any of the fluff, what the cameras look like, what anything looks like. You have to take it back to the meat and potatoes of whatever your product is. And that is what we're talking about. So like you can dress it up and make it cute, but if it's not connecting with people, that's not working. And we got to make sure that we're connecting so that people are interested and they're invested, because if you're making a podcast,
Yeah.
it's for other people. It's not for you. And so if your people don't like it, not that they run the show, but it's for them. So you should listen, and you've got to make some changes and just try. You could also quit, and that's one way to do it too, because I mean, money runs out and like patience run
That's
out.
it.
Time, yeah. And so sometimes it is like, well, the people, I can't find the people that I want to find. So let me pivot. And
No,
it just depends. But like where I am right now, it's like, okay, things are kind of sucky on the money side. I'm not paying myself right now. But I know what I want out of this, and I still believe in myself, and I'm just gonna have to do some things on my own, do a lot more work that I would like to outsource, but that's okay because I know it's temporary. And I think a lot of people don't like to go through this phase that I'm in because maybe it's embarrassing to some, or you feel like you're taking a step back. But I think that's the actual reality of entrepreneurship, not the glamorized version that people put on Instagram.
Facts. It's like I resonate with that a lot. I think like the up and downs of like just being a creator and like earning a living from it, it can be like scary and traumatizing like at times.
That's why I never go full time. I've never been like truly full time. Like, I mean, this is full time, but I keep 50, 11 jobs.
Now, and I've personally even felt just kind of like when you're 100% dependent on like the creative thing you do to live, I think it like impacts the creative output because you're now like, how can I monetize? What's like the trendy thing? What's the, whatever. So I'm with you just in diversifying your income. How do you think about like, if you're monetizing something, right? Like there's things you have to do that. Like somebody has to be like emailing the brands or sponsors, right? And that might not be like your co-host bag, right? They might be better at other things. How do you think about like dividing responsibility so that it's not like I'm doing 90% of the things versus 10%, but I'm just good at that.
I think that's the reality sometimes. If if the other person doesn't have it, you can't make them have it. And so it's like sometimes you do take on a lot more responsibility, a lot more work. And then you figure out, okay, well, if you don't want to do that work, who else can do it? Because it doesn't have to be your co-host. You can hire somebody else to do these things. Like right now, we have an agency, an ad network. They sell the ads on the show on our behalf. So I don't have to talk to the sponsors anymore. Thank goodness, because I mean, I learned what I could from the sales reps at the radio. So I've learned so much. It was like college again. It's like, I guess that's where I got my master's. But pitching to brands is not my forte, but I'll figure it out. I've always been okay, well, I got to figure it out. But it's better if somebody else can do it because I do enjoy the creative part. And I think that the creative suffers when you do have to take on too much responsibility. You don't have the energy sometimes, and you haven't, like, I go through phases where it's like, I'm not even living life. This is why the content isn't hitting, because I'm not doing anything. I'm being boring in my everyday life because I'm stuck at a desk working on 50 different things, whether I'm editing, I'm doing the bookkeeping, I am working on my other projects. I'm trying to like find a little bit of time to have a life, walking my dog. Maybe I eat today, maybe I forget, and now I'm just going to sleep. Like it can be crazy. And so when you are able to delegate tasks, I think one, you got to make sure that you can figure out how to delegate. But sometimes you do have to find other help or slow things down. It's a lot of different ways to approach it, but you want to split things evenly, but the reality is you can't always do that.
What's been your experience working with like the agency? I'm assuming like they take a percentage and then they do the sales, but how's that been?
I like it. Sometimes I'm always wondering, what are y'all actually saying when y'all are pitching us? Because sometimes I'm like, why can't we get deals with certain brands, or what's going on? But having people who are experienced and know how to negotiate, because negotiating is another thing.
Facts.
You want to know how to do that. You want to make sure that you might feel like you deserve $10,000, but the industry standard is saying you can get one. And it's like, okay, saying $10,000 might scare somebody off, and then they just stop responding. I know I have gotten quotes for things, and I don't always respond when the number's too high. Like, I'm not even about to waste your time. Babe, I'm playing. I can't even go back and forth with you. Then you're gonna be like, well, what can you pay? Nothing, because what I can pay is disrespectful. So, and then if you tell me you can meet me where I'm at, now I feel played because you tried to get me. So just
Nah, I feel you, and I think like there's something about like the lack of visibility of you knowing it's being handled. Like, they're sending emails, but you can't like see them. That I think gives me a little bit of angst, kind of.
I think a workaround with that is just like weekly updates. You say, hey, this is who we're pitching to. So like the agency, they'll say, hey, we're thinking about pitching you for this brand. Are you interested? So they send us these Google forms with a link to the company so we can fill it out and let them know too, are we interested? They don't ever pitch anybody that they haven't already told us about. So we know that they're pitching and we know that they're reaching out to brands, and I'll send them people. And I'm like, I might not have a contact, but I have this idea. This is something I actually use. Or this is a company that reached out to me to do like a social media post. Reach out to them because they're obviously looking for people.
Yeah. I think that's what it is for me. Cause it's more like, I used to have a talent manager and I would be like a brand would email us and I'd be like, man, I would have been responded to that email. I would have done it differently. But just like trusting people, letting them do their job. And I think helping them, like sending them the leads or whatever you can to get them going. But I think that's such a beautiful evolution, going from like creator to not having to do some of those things to just focusing on the craft. I'm curious, like, where do you want to take your show? Like, what does the future look like for CockTales?
Well, the future of CockTales is looking real different. I think I said that in a recent episode. I've been talking to a few different people who I want to work with, and I want to refresh a lot of things. The future of CockTales, I want to get back to the roots, back to why people fell in love with the show, and that is having more honest conversations, but that you can laugh at. That can be fun because life is stressful. I be feeling stressed out, and then I want to have serious conversations all the time. Sometimes I just want to laugh at the things, and I don't think that because something is funny and entertaining and feels good that you can't learn from it. You can, but every day we're not learning from our mistakes. Some days we're just gonna sit in it and we're gonna talk about it and realize that we're not alone going through this and we don't have the answers. We don't know what to do next. But I'm gonna tell y'all, and y'all tell me in the comments what you think I should do. I don't know. And I just wanna connect to the people more because it also kind of feels like in this current state, I don't know if they really realize who I am. Maybe they're hanging on to who they thought I was. So I've gotta talk more, I've got to share more, I've got to update more, and I've got to figure it out too. And I just like being transparent. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm in a state of confusion. I'm in a creative rut, but I appreciate y'all being on the ride with me. Today, I recorded multiple episodes. It didn't go how I wanted it to go, but that's okay. We're just going to do another ADHD episode where I talk about all the things coming to my head. And hopefully you don't click off of the episode. But if you do, come back next week. Maybe it'll be different. And just like talking to them and making them feel like this is for them versus they're eavesdropping.
Yeah. Is that like, you said several different like insights that you've had like from your show. Are you using like, how are you getting this information? Like even what you said, like people listen to the show because X or they want X, right?
They tell me.
It's from like via comments, you mean?
Comments, DMs, in the street. Sometimes they send emails. Sometimes they leave it in the reviews. Like the podcast apps, that's where you're going to see your ratings and reviews. Go look at those. Like you really should look at them. Spotify does them too. And like sometimes I want to go back and forth with people who can be a little harsh in their critiques, but it's like at the end of the day, that's okay. They can have that opinion. There's got to be some truth in it because that's how they felt. So like, let's examine this. Does it matter to me that they think this? What do I want to do with this, you know?
That makes perfect sense. And I want to end with these two questions because I'd love to know like your thoughts. Like I feel like a lot of people these days get like their news and information from like TikTokers, content creators, right? And I'm curious like how you feel about that, having like a journalistic background, but also just like seeing how fast content, like social media is growing and the fact that people are trusting it more than sometimes news sources. Like what's your perspective on that?
I get why people trust it more, but I'll be honest, it grinds my gears. Like even when people leave comments and it's like, this is not journalism. You're right. This is not journalism. I know what journalism is, okay? I got a degree in it. I've done it. But everything, I think people get confused about commentary and reporting. I'm not reporting. And even like when I have a guest on the show, like, it's kind of an interview, but I always say I want it to feel like a conversation because I just want to get to know you. I don't want it to feel like a Q&A session. I want it to feel like we're talking about whatever we're talking about because I don't want y'all to be confused about the journalistic aspect. And people will get on the podcast and say things that are absolutely lies or not based in fact. And don't get confused thinking that I vetted them as like a credible source. I'm just letting this person talk. You know what I mean? And I think there's reasons why people don't trust traditional media. And I totally get it. But I just think everybody has to remember that many of these podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, people are doing this for entertainment and they're doing this for money. And some things are for shock value. And you only know what people choose to put out. And you have to remember that. So like when people run with stories, you don't know if that's the whole story or not. You don't know if the whole thing is a sham for publicity or just for the public. So you just got to be really aware of that and be careful of who you're trusting.
That makes perfect sense. I feel like you have been a podcaster, a content creator, a radio host. You've worked for some amazing like media companies. Like you are living your dream as like a creative person. And I'm curious, like if there was something you can go back and tell 10-year-old Kiki, like what would it be?
Don't listen to anybody who tells you can't do something or that you need to pivot. Stay doing what you want to do. Because you're right. I hate to be that Virgo that's like, I was right. I knew it. I was right. But I was. And it's like, maybe throughout my life, if I didn't second guess myself so much, I would have gotten to where I want to be quicker. But then maybe the ride wouldn't have been as appreciated by me. So I guess everything happens for a reason. But believe in yourself. Don't listen to anybody who doubts you.
It's like all these things that happen on the journey all just play such a critical role in helping us get to like where we're going. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it.